Welcome to Inspired Women Amazing Lives podcast, where we seek to thrive, flourish, and celebrate amazing women. I am Kimberly Wiggins, and we are hosting inspired women who are sharing their lives and their stories so that other women may know that the journey to their amazing life is definitely within reach. We are here every week to share resources and information that will help you along the journey to being that inspired woman leading an amazing life. And I am so happy to share our new business breakthrough segment that happens every third Wednesday of every month, where we are sharing with a live business owner, a mindset coach, and a marketing coach, and doing live coaching on the air to show the intersection of mindset and marketing effectiveness in the coaching environment for business success. Join us for that segment. You don't want to miss it. Remember to like and comment, and most definitely share these episodes with another woman that you admire and one who truly inspires you, or simply share with someone you would like to inspire. Enjoy! Welcome to Inspired Women Amazing Lives podcast. And boy, do I have a treat for you today. I have a good friend of mine and a very special guest, Dr. Melissa Brown. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, Kimberly. Happy to be here.
Yes. Now you will be quite intrigued with Melissa. She is the owner of CoachReadyContent.com. And she is a chief everything officer. I love it. So Dr. Melissa Brown's career journey has always had an element of teaching involved, initially teaching parents and children how to live a healthy life through her work as a pediatrician. After retirement from clinical practice, Dr. Brown has taught and mentored as a healthy lifestyle coach, author, and speaker. She now helps teach and train solopreneurs like myself and coaches to stop being the world's best kept secret. Her mission is to help you create great content, impact people, and change the world. Wow. Thank you so much for being here, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly, for that great introduction.
Yes, I mean, you've done so much. It's amazing. I can't wait to get into this. But first of all, let's hear your story. I always start because I think the story is so interesting.
Well, for nearly 25 years, I practiced clinical medicine as a pediatrician. So I was helping teach and train parents, so to speak, to make sure that their children were healthy. And then when they weren't healthy, taking care of them to get them back to health. In 2000, prior to 2009, I started to experience some burnout. And I started to realize, hey, medicine is just not what I kind of signed up for. So insurance was changing, the practice of medicine was changing, and I started to realize this is not exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. And in 2009, I found somebody to take over my practice, and I left clinical medicine. And I thought I was going to retire. However, I realized I can't retire. I got a whole lot more to share in my life.
Yes.
I heard about this thing called coaching, and more or less just to find out, just to figure out what that coaching was, I signed up for a course on life coaching. For myself, I wasn't looking to become a coach. I just wanted to figure out what this was. It was personal growth and development thing. I really love personal growth and development. After I went through that course, which was about a year and a half, I realized I could take some of my experience and my skills in medicine, in health and wellness, and use those coaching skills to help adults now become healthier. So I did, for a period of time, I was a healthy lifestyle coach. And one of the things I started to notice was it was very difficult to get all that content created for my website, for coaching programs. And I discovered something called PLR, private label rights, where you can buy the rights to use already written content.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't fitting the bill for me. And I started to realize maybe I could write this content and help other people, especially health coaches or other people in the health and wellness profession, help them with their content. And it's more or less exploded over the last year and a half to 2 years. I've been writing health and wellness content, and it's now sold on my website. And I help solopreneurs or heart-centered entrepreneurs get their content written so that they can get their message out and make changes in the world that they want to see.
Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh, that is such an amazing journey.
It's a journey.
Yes. And I know you sit back, Melissa, and you say, who knew?
Who knew? Who knew? It's just, everything seems to happen for a reason. And sometimes you just sit back and say, well, why did this happen? And then you're going down a different path.
Yeah.
And when I did retire from pediatrics, and actually to this day, so it's 10 years, I have people stop me on the street in my neighborhood and say, do you miss it? And my answer is no. I am happier, I'm more fulfilled, and I'm loving what I do. So no, I don't miss the practice of pediatrics.
Wow, that's amazing. And you know, one of the things I like to see is if you just get on the path, it'll pull you along where you need to be. And so you just decided to get off the path you didn't want anymore and get on a path you did want, and it just took you there. That's really nice. Ooh.
Thank you.
Yes, 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 yes. So, Melissa, I know that was, I'm sure that was a really, like, not an easy transition for you, but I think you talked about being a little burned out.
Yes.
And so in this burnout process, I mean, just to help my audience kind of think through the process, hear how you thought through that process. How did you decide how you were going to use your time and the skills that you had to reinvent yourself? How did you finally come to that decision? Did you try a few things? What was that process like?
It's funny, as you go through the process, you don't necessarily think about it. It's only looking backwards through the retrospectoscope that you can see where you've come from. In 2009, when I retired, I thought I would just be staying at home and being a stay-at-home grandma, actually, because my husband and I have custody of our granddaughter, and we were raising her. But like I said, I just felt like there was a whole lot more for me to do in the world than just be a stay-at-home grandmother.
Right.
So I started on this path for the life coaching, and it was almost like a light bulb moment where I said, if I had known the skills that I learned in life coaching and I had used those in my pediatric practice, I would probably been a much, much better physician. But I didn't know them. We weren't taught those things in medical school. Maybe now, I know I'm a dinosaur, but at the time I went through medical school, those skills were not taught.
Wow.
So I did not want to go back into pediatrics, but I wanted to help other people with their health and wellness, making sure that I did a lot of coaching with people who wanted to lose weight for health reasons, not for aesthetics. And perhaps they had just been diagnosed with diabetes. Maybe they were on the path towards diabetes. A lot of people are recognizing the connection there. So they were looking for help, accountability, and a path to go. So that's what I started to do. And I was happy until I realized that this content was, to be able to get new clients was difficult without writing a lot of content. And it was either, all right, I could either coach the clients, or eventually that that funnel for new clients was going to dry up because I wasn't getting the content written, or I could write the content and then I didn't have time to do the coaching.
Wow.
So it was more or less an evolutionary process to come up with this writing content. I've always loved to write. And one of the things that's been on my, I hate to call it a bucket list, I call it a life list, was to write a book. And I've written a chapter in a book, but that to me doesn't count. I want to write my own book eventually, and that's still on my life list. But I've loved to write, and not having the time to do everything, I had to sit back and say, well, what would be the best use of my time? And when I realized that there are a lot of other people, especially health coaches, who give up their dreams of being a coach because they can't get that content written, it made me realize that the impact of writing good content and getting it out there for people so they can get their message out is going to have a huge ripple effect. Mm-hmm. So I just decided to bite the bullet, so to speak, and go in that direction. And over the past year and a half, I've actually done a lot of teleseminars and webinars or Zoom calls where I've been teaching people about how to get their content written. And I found that I really love that piece of it too. So it's sort of twofold now, writing the content, but also helping others other than just health coaches, but solopreneurs and heart-centered entrepreneurs, and help them get that content out there so that they get their message out.
Absolutely. And Melissa, you and I are in a lot of the same groups, and we were, like in a coaching program together. So I know how, I remembered you from the early days when you first started working on this content and on this content portion of it. And when I first met you, Melissa, way back in the day, I was thinking, why is she trying to do content? I hate content. Believe it or not, I hate content. There, I said it. So.
You're not alone. There are a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs who hate content. They think they don't write well. They think they don't know how to write the English language. They don't know what to write, and they just put it off. They think it's just not good enough. So they hate on it.
Right.
But as I found, there are so many different ways to get your content out there. It doesn't have to be actually in the written form, in the audio form, here in podcasting, in video. There's just so many different ways to get content out there. And then there's PLR, where someone else writes it, you tweak it. I'd always advise that content gets changed somehow, enhance it, put your own quotes into it, change the title, put a little changes of some kind. Don't rewrite it from top to bottom, but make it your own so that it doesn't look like somebody else who just didn't take the time and just slapped it on their website. But there's always done for you content that's out there that you could use if you hate content.
Yes. I mean, learning about PLR was like, oh, for me, because I was like,
the angel sang.
Because, oh my gosh, yes. And something you mentioned earlier about, just being able to love, you've always loved writing, and you've obviously always loved teaching. So it all falls into place with content. And so it just makes sense. It just really does make sense. And so I'm glad that you are on this journey and you found this. I really, like I said, I'm not a fan of content. And one of the reasons for me, Melissa, why content is not attractive for me is because I haven't, I was an IT professional, and then I went into academia on the collegiate level. And because of that, when I write, it is very academic.
Yes. And that's actually something that a lot of people get tripped up with when they write for a blog post or an email. It doesn't have to be that way. We can throw out a lot of those rules that applied to sentence structure. And you can start a sentence with "and." Oh, my English teachers are just rolling over in their graves. There's just so much, I guess, casuality. It's just so casual now. And writing like you speak is probably the best way to think about it. You don't really need to write that formal thesis type writing when you're writing a blog post. It doesn't serve anybody's purpose. And small sentences and small chunks of content in a paragraph, and even if it's one sentence in a paragraph, it's okay. It's okay. So we don't have to do those rules. And sometimes it's very hard once you've gotten those rules really ingrained in you to stray away from them.
Yes, it is. It really is. But thank you for giving me permission to do all those things.
You have my permission.
I have to keep hearing that over and over in order to, because every now and then I will write a blog post, and then I will look at it and say, this is just all wrong.
Hey, I think we all do that. But if you're happy with the content that's in there and you think it's going to help somebody, then I say go for it.
Yeah. Very, very nice. Okay. So, Melissa, now you say you do a lot of done for you content and you do that now for health coaches or any type of solopreneurs, correct?
Well, my done for you products that I have for sale on my website right now are mostly health and wellness related, although I've just recently completed one that would be for any niche, if you want to call it that. If you call it niche, if you call it niche, whatever.
Right.
But it's all about setting yourself up for inevitable success. So it's articles that would apply for anyone because it's foundational. We all set goals. Well, I don't want to say we should set goals because that's shitting on somebody.
Right.
But we all set goals, and setting up the conditions for inevitable success, I think, would apply for anyone. So that's my latest product that's up on my website.
Nice. Very nice. And I will admit, Melissa, content is hugely important. I don't care what niche you're in, you're going to have to put out some content because that's what helps make you visible. Without the content, no one knows you're really there or that you have a voice, that you have anything to say. So, content is hugely, hugely important. And, like I've shared a little bit of my thoughts about how I feel about content. I really hate content, but I have to keep forcing myself to do it. Now, I'll tell you something. I've had this discussion with other people in other groups, and I've had content creators in groups that have said this to me: why are you frustrating yourself trying to write your own content? That's what I'm here for. I can write all your content for you always. And I've had several content creators come back at me with that response. But here's the deal. Here's what I always say to them, Melissa. I always say, yeah, I know I could hire someone to do it, but it's my business. And at the core of my business, no one else can replace actually me per se. I'm me. Right. My views and perspectives and opinions, the way I talk, just my little bit of swag,
right,
is all me. And so I really want to put that into my content. No one else can put that in there for me like I could. So I really want to learn how to be my own best content writer. They all disagree. You should see, oh my God, they jumped all over me. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would disagree that you have to hire someone. If you want to hire someone, then fine, go for it. It is a much more expensive proposition. The more affordable and I think timely, time-saving way to do it is to get very high quality PLR, done for you content, and then just make it your own. You know, like I said before, change up the title. You don't want to use the same title that is in that package. Change the title, put in some personal stories. That's your personal swag, your sass. And put those those personal stories, because we all have them. We all have story. That's what makes us unique. And here's a little tip. I like keeping either a notebook or some place like Trello where I write down stories like every day. If you have something that happens, write down that little story, or even just a little snippet of it so you will bring it to mind. Like if something reminds you of something in your business, something that happened to you today or with your children or with your grandchildren, that personal story is a great segue into the lesson that you want to teach. For instance, I recently did a Facebook Live series because I had been watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the comedy TV show, and I'm watching it. I binge watched it, actually. I hadn't seen it until this month. And then it started to dawn on me that there were a lot of marketing messages in that show. So I started writing them down. And then I did a Facebook Live where I pulled out several of them. And for 4 days, I talked about that. So those kind of things are just, they're so unique with a Y-O-U, unique. So if you change up that done for you private label rights that you purchased and use it, that's the other thing, is so many people hoard it. They buy it, maybe they don't even download it, but they say, I can go back later. But a lot of people will download it, put it on their computer, and never go back and look at it. And that's a shame, because you've got all this content that you could be utilizing to get your message out there. So those people who are looking for you can find you. Don't be the best kept secret. Get that content out there.
I totally agree. Thank you for that. I hope my listeners are really paying attention to that, because you gave them some really, really good tips. I love that about having that book around, or just being able to maybe even create notes in my notes app in my phone. That way, as things are happening, I can really think about it and take those stories down. I love that. Yeah, PLR is amazing, amazing, amazing. And I was a hoarder for a very long time. I am a self-proclaimed anti-hoarder now. Yes, because I have tons of it. I only buy now what I know I'm going to use. And when I buy it, I think about how I'm going to use it. And I try to use it within the first 2 weeks of me buying it.
That is so smart.
I try to, because I don't want to be a hoarder anymore.
Some people have told me that they purchase PLR, especially articles, and they just immediately upload them into their blog post, and they have 100, 200 in there. Well, that may be just as, I don't want to use the word bad, but that may be also not as good a technique to use, a strategy, because then it becomes like you can't find anything even inside your blog post on WordPress. So what you're doing is smart. You think about how you want to use that, and then put it into your schedule. Put it into your schedule. Make an appointment with yourself for utilizing that content, and then get it out there and publish it into the world.
I love that. Yes, that's an even better step for me, so that I'm putting it in my schedule. Yeah, love that. Oh, love it, love it, love it.
Make it an appointment, just like you'd make an appointment with a doctor that you wouldn't want to cancel.
That's right. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for that. So you have a self-study course that you are promoting right now for people like myself that struggle with content. Share with us what that is and how that would help the person like me. I'm buying that course, by the way.
Okay, great. Over the past year and a half, I have hosted a Facebook group called the Content Creation Community. And there's, when you host a Facebook group, you can ask 1 to 3 questions. So I ask one question: what's your biggest struggle with content creation? And the answers that I got were starting to fall into several different categories. People said they didn't know what to write about. They just didn't have a plan. They just couldn't make it happen. They just procrastinated. They just fell into certain categories. And then I decided, well, some of this is all a story that they're telling themselves, how they can't get their content written. So I looked at those different categories and I created a solution for each of the categories. So the course that I created is the Doable Content Creation Framework. And the framework it's a framework. So it shows you, it walks you through who is your target market. Because sometimes when you don't know what to write, you just don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
When you're really clear about who that content is for, then it's easier. It's easier to write that content. It also talks about how to go about doing a brainstorming, brain dumping of ideas. Now, we all get those ideas. And like I mentioned before, unless you're collecting those ideas, like for the stories, when you get an idea for content that you think, wow, this would be really great to write as a blog post, or I want to send an email about that. If you don't write that down, or if you don't get that into some kind of a container, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have that same situation where you're sitting in front of a computer, you're looking at your WordPress blog, and you're saying, I don't know what to write about. So if you've got all of those ideas collected in an ideal vault, then you just open up your vault, you look and say, okay, well, I'm going to worry about this today. Or you make your content calendar and you decide, okay, next month is going to be the month I talk about X. And then your Facebook Live content, your blog post content, your email content is all about that particular topic. So that's it. This course walks you through. It's self-study. There's several different aids and bonuses that help you really set up that framework for yourself so you get that content done repeatedly, consistently, and you are preventing yourself from being that best kept secret. You're getting your content out there and you're showcasing your expertise.
This sounds like something that would be really, really useful because for one, it sounds like the framework helps you develop a system, if you will,
right,
for your content. And this system, you can use it again and again and again, but it is like setting it up once and almost having it on autopilot, kind of.
Right. It's creating that plan.
Yeah.
And it's working that plan. So it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. If you do it monthly, you can do it monthly. If you want to do it quarterly, you do it quarterly, whatever works for you. Everyone's going to have a little bit different spin on it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That makes, oh, I can't wait to do this. Now, because I'm sorry, my head is spinning. I was going to say what it makes is my content on, it makes me not have to be frustrated and overwhelmed about my content is what it does.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Now, how long would you say, Melissa, this course, how much time would I need to devote to this course?
Well, there's videos that are in the course and there's a content guide. It's, I don't know, 70, 80 pages, something like that. But a lot of it is pretty wide space, a lot of white space in it. You could go through the material in one day and then set up some of the other pieces of it. But one of the things that you really want to, if you already know your target market, you can breeze through this.
Right.
The target market piece where you're thinking about doing some research and maybe interviewing your target market, your audience, that might take a little bit longer. So it really depends on where you are in your business.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, if you don't have your target market set, you probably want to spend you really want to dig deep into that.
Yes.
Because, a lot of people, I will say this all the time to people that I speak with, and they don't believe it, that if they have this wide net where they're trying to talk to everyone, no one is listening.
Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah. Once you really are clear about who your people are, that you who you're attracting also, because sometimes, like with me, I thought I was talking to only health and wellness coaches, and it turns out that the story that I was telling and the things that I was offering seemed to resonate with a totally different audience. I love them. And once I realized that, and then it became easier for me to even attract more of those people. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, very, very nice. Yes. Now you're also creating, you have something new in the works too, don't you?
I do,
Tell us
yes.
about that. Ooh.
Okay, well, Kelly McCausey is doing a Great Big Life and Biz bundle that's coming up this month. I think it's the 18th it goes live. And as part of that, I'm going to be creating a live group coaching experience. Haven't completely come up with the title yet. She and I have been going back and forth about the title, but it's all about how you can spice up your digital products with a little bit of different flavor than maybe you've used in the past. So it's really showcasing yourself as the expert. So I'm going to, it's what it is a more or less it's a case study of how I've created 7 different digital products over the last year. And
Nice.
yeah, it's been a, well, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing until again, it's a retrospectoscope. You look back and you say, oh my goodness, I did all these live events and these group coaching trainings, and now I've got all these products. Yes. So it's a beautiful thing again. So I'm going to talk about how you can do that. And it doesn't have to be in, for a bundle or a giveaway, but it would work very well for a giveaway or a bundle. It would work very well if you just decided to do this content and get it out there. And you don't have to have an audience, a live audience, although that would work for that too. So I'm going to talk about how to do that.
Nice. Sounds like something we should all keep our eyes open for. Melissa, I always look for ways to, because I don't like working with my content as much. And I know I should stop saying that. I really should stop saying that. I know that. But because that is not my top priority thing to do, although it drives my business.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking for ways to make it easy. What if it were easy?
Right. What if it were easy?
Yes. So I'm always looking for ways to make it easy. And it sounds like you are providing a lot of that for your clients. So I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And for my audience today, you also have a free gift for them that relates to, you have a couple free gifts. One, you have some free done for you articles that they can download, and I'll put that link on your podcast page. Mm-hmm. And you're also offering a discount coupon for your self-study course, correct?
That's right. Yes. It's normally the course is $67, but I'm giving people a $30 coupon, and they just use thank you 30. You can put, I assume you can put that on the Facebook or the podcast page.
Yes.
Okay.
I will.
Thank you 30. So they can take $30 off, and it comes down to $37. So.
Woo.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. I can't wait to dig into that. I'll probably just take a weekend and dig into that and get my framework all set up. I'm looking for easy here, Melissa.
I hear you. I hear you.
So
once it gets set up, it does become easier, but you still need to use it. Use it.
Yes.
And as I said, rinse and repeat and just keep using.
I'm looking forward to it. Wow. Now, Melissa, I know you said that you are a board of directors for a nonprofit organization. And I always like to mention this because of the fact that to me, it's like the big give back. Tell us what you do with that organization.
Well, the organization is blinknow.org, BLINKNOW. It was started, let's see, I think we're in the 11th or the 12th year. It was started by a 19-year-old young lady named Maggie Doyne. And she was just a regular 18-year-old at the time girl who she decided she didn't want to go to college. So she took a year off and did a gap study where she did some humanitarian work around the world. That culminated in her getting an offer to stay in India and work in a children's orphanage. That orphanage was close to Nepal. And at the time, the civil war in Nepal had just ended. And she had several of the girls in that orphanage who had been smuggled out of Nepal, and they wanted to go back and see if they had any family left in Nepal. So she backpacked through Nepal and found thousands of children that no one was taking care of. And she decided she would take her babysitting money, she would start a children's home there and help these kids. And 12 years later, close to 12 years later, there are roughly 50 children that are in that children's home. Over 400 are in a school that was just built. It's a state-of-the-art school that was just opened in February. And there's a women's center that now we're able to import some of the materials that these women are creating. These women, because they grew up during the Civil War, are not educated. So Maggie and the whole team is educating these women, giving them skills and tools to create a life for themselves and their children. And there's also a safe house for girls, because that is child marriage is also an issue. And so it's just a wonderful organization that's helping so many. And Maggie has been an inspiration. She won the CNN Hero Award one year and the Do Something Award for her work. And she has become an inspiration for so many social entrepreneurs. And it's just such a wonderful thing to be a part of.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. I just love that. Oh, wow. And the thing that inspires me the most about that story, Melissa, is that she started when she was just a young girl.
She was 19 when she started it, and she saw this vision of being able to help, and no one was helping, and she thought, why not me? And the blink now is because she realized that in the blink of an eye you can make a difference. She started with one little girl.
Wow.
And that one little girl she put into school while she was there. And then she said, I'm going to pay for school for this one little girl who had been out breaking rocks in a dry riverbed to get money for her family. She would get a few pennies per day, but she wasn't in school. So she decided to take this little girl and put her in school and pay for her education. And she said, it's addictive. If you can pay for one, you can pay for more. And it's just snowballed from there.
Definitely. Oh, wow. That is such an amazing story. So inspiring. I will definitely put a link,
yes,
blinknow.org, on the podcast page and put them on my radar for the big give back, because that's hugely, hugely important. You know, I think we sometimes take for granted so much that we have and so much that we can accomplish. And, you know, there are other people out there who just need to be inspired. So
that's true. It's just such a great way to realize that there is positive out there in the world. There are people who are doing good things. And so often we look at the negative and the things that are happening in our country and in the world, and we think that's all that the world is full of. But then you find people like Maggie who have created this wonderful organization and are helping so many of those kids. There are now some of the older kids, some of the children who she adopted into the children's home early on, who have actually gotten scholarships and come to the United States to study. So yeah, there's a generation who we're all hoping will go back and help lift up that area and just pay it forward. So it's such a beautiful thing to see that happen.
Huge impact. Wow. Nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Ripple effect.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now you have a black belt in karate.
Well, yes. When I was in college, I did achieve black belt status. And then I got into medical school and I just have never gone back to it. But it's funny how having that muscle memory,
Wow.
maybe 5 years ago, I started working out again with a trainer. I hurt myself at some point with my shoulder, and I got very scared of working out with trainers.
Yeah.
And then I said, I've got to do some weight training or some stretch, some kind of strength training. And I started to work out with another woman who really understood not to hurt me.
Right.
So I was amazed the muscle memory and how the
Wow.
flexibility from karate came back. So
Nice.
that was really cool.
That makes a difference as we get older. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. 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 And you're a country girl like myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Ohio, but I live in New Jersey now.
Yeah, yeah. And you've been a Toastmasters. I
Yes.
for a long time. I started on the Toastmaster track. I've got to get back to it. That's just a reminder for me that I got to get back. But you're almost at the distinguished Toastmaster level.
That's right. I'm on track to finish June 2020. So I'm really excited. When I first joined Toastmasters, the public speaking and the leadership, it just intimidated me. I thought, all right, I'll do, a speech at a time. It's going to be a speech at a time. But
That's right.
there's no way I'll ever compete. Well, how many years later? It's 8 years later. I've competed. I've won contests. I
Nice.
have I have been leadership in the club and in the district, and it's the best. I call it the best kept secret of personal growth and development, and it's the best bargain. It's not expensive
Yes.
to be a member of Toastmasters. I'm actually in 2 clubs now, but it's wonderful. Personal growth
Yeah.
and development, leadership. It's
Yeah.
not just public speaking.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, because when I was there, I did some leadership as well. It was my first time doing leadership in something like that, and I was terrified. But there was everyone there to help me. It was just so great. I
Yes.
mean, it was nothing to be terrified about. But you're right. It gives you some skills. It gives you some additional skills to build upon. So yeah, it is
Yeah.
the best kept secret. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. And you love this quote. Tell us why. Done is better than perfect, since perfect never gets done. Ooh, I like that.
Well, I used to be a perfectionist, and
Oh,
perfectionism is, well, I guess the best analogy is analysis paralysis. You're always analyzing something, and you're not going to do whatever that thing that you're analyzing unless it's perfect.
right.
And nothing gets done. It's like I just finished a blog post last month in September that ended with, was actually Overthinkers Anonymous. That's what I was writing about, because overthinking and perfectionism is pretty rampant, I'm finding, in entrepreneurship.
Oh, yeah.
But if you think about it, if you're overthinking or if you're a perfectionist, that gives you something to do, like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do. You're rocking, but you never go anywhere.
Right.
So done is better than perfect. If you're like writing content and you think, well, it's not perfect, but if you think that's going to resonate with someone in your audience and it's going to help somebody, then get it out there. Don't overthink it. Don't make it perfect, because perfect never gets done.
There you go. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I find that when I start writing my blog posts, and I publish one weekly, I find that sometimes I'm stumped, but then sometimes I just figure out where to start, and then it just kind of takes off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, done is better than perfect. And I try not to make it, I try to say, okay, that's enough. I'm good.
Yeah. And don't worry about a grammatical error. Don't worry about a spelling error. This is not a thesis. It's a
Yeah.
blog post.
Yeah.
It's a blog post.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So we're about to wrap up. Thank you so much, Dr. Melissa, for being here. You have been amazing. You've shared a bunch of advice for us and tips and just resources that we can use to make our content better. Lastly, I would love for you to share one action tip for my audience today that they can just take away, they can go and put into practice today.
I think the best thing that I could tell you is create some kind of container for your content, those ideas, whether it's Trello, Evernote, whether it's Dropbox. That would be something high tech that you would be able to find on your computer, your laptop, on your smartphone. It's always with you if you've got a smartphone. So those apps are great, and write it down. If you're not high techy and you don't want to really go into that app, then get a little notebook that you keep with you. Stick it in your purse, put it in your car, or actually I have one in my car. But if you write those things down, transfer it into one place. Don't have these little pieces of paper. I've just completed a big challenge and I have all kinds of little pieces of paper. Now my task today is to get all those in one place, because you can have all sticky notes and notes everywhere, and you're not going to be able to access those when you need them, when you're sitting there to write your content. So stories, ideas, all of those things that will help you with your content, put them in one place.
That's a very good tip. Very, very good tip. I have to get better at that myself, Melissa.
It's a daily thing. It's just one day at a time, one day at a time.
I put them in my phone and forget to take them out and put them somewhere else.
I hear you. I've done the same, but I'm much better about it, and it's just being mindful of it. Really.
Yes. Thank you for that. Well, audience, we are signing out for today. I will put all of Melissa's contact information, her free gift link, the link to her, to the organization, the nonprofit organization, and all her social media. So you can reach out to her, find her course, get the discount. Oh, I'm so excited. Melissa has a lot going on, and I'm so grateful that she blessed us with her presence today.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you.
You are so, so welcome. And so we are ending this episode. We'll see you next time on Inspired Women, Amazing Lives. Bye. Have a good week. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, where we help women to be truly inspired to live their most amazing lives. Please subscribe to the podcast to be notified of new content each and every week. Feel free to like, comment, and share with the woman who inspires you most. I hope to see you next week on the next episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast. Goodbye.